All right, welcome to Nasty Nate TV. Today we're going to be reviewing the newest set, Sacrifice of Angels. There's a lot of cards to get through, so let's get going. We're going to start off from the top. All right, first card in the set is Cutting Remark. It's a two-cost dual dilemma. What it says is when uh, you face it, you randomly select a personnel to be stopped. And if you command four more events that cost two or less, you have to destroy two of those events. So this card is okay. Um, it's two cost dual for a stop, which is pretty common cost. And then the little extra flair to it is an opportunity to destroy some events. Now I think uh, the event destruction part of it isn't that great. Um, Normally, you don't want to give your opponent the option to do stuff, so this gives your opponent the option to which events they want to destroy of their own. So you can't really rely on it to be, you can't really rely on it as the deck destruction or the event destruction of your deck if you really need event destruction. So, um, not too impressed by this card. Might see some played, but probably not a lot. Our next card is Rascals. This is two cost dual as well. It says unless your personal have total cost less than 17 for each headquarters mission you command, randomly select a personal to be killed. So it's two cost dual for a potential kill that goes under. It's pretty good. Pretty good effect. Requires you to pay a little of attention to your opponent. So if your opponent is playing really expensive people, this will net you a kill. Will not if they're playing weenies. So it's kind of opposite of normal. Normally dilemmas like this target low cost people instead of high cost people. Um, the part that I don't like is that it's designed, I guess, to deal with the dual headquarters. So it's a kill for each headquarters mission you command. Um, so for most affiliations, this will or most decks, this will hit one person. Occasionally, it'll hit two, but a little more often you'll be running into a Relativity or a Voyager or Con deck. This will just be a dead draw against that deck. Um, Dual HQ isn't really that great right now, so this card's okay, but could be better. All right, next card is Royal Casino Craps. This is another two-cost dual. This is a wall. So when you face it, you have to reveal a personnel from hand who has Cunning 7 or 11. And if you don't, all your people are stopped. So that's like the main part of this dilemma. So to get through this wall, you're going to want to be playing, or not playing, you're going to want to be holding in hand some 7 cunning people. I guess Barkley has 11 cunning, but he's the only one. There are quite a few good options, so it's going to make a bunch of personnel that were maybe on the verge of being playable, uh, pretty playable. Again, I guess not really playable, but put it in your deck. Um, yeah, so it'll probably be a really popular wall. This will undoubtedly change draw decks, kind of like how Nothing to Lose has been changing draw decks. So that'll happen quite a bit. So when this dilemma is overcome, if it was so there has another text to it. It says when this dilemma is overcome, if it was prevented, your opponent can reveal a personnel from the hand to score points. So this is, I don't know, this is kind of flavorful. So I suppose it has built-in prevent and overcome protection, or not protection, but I guess kind of a side effect if someone does prevent and overcome it. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of just extra for no reason. All right. Next dilemma is a planet dilemma. This is a one-cost planet dilemma. It's called the Doomsday Machine. This says unless you command 2 staff ships at this mission, the opponent on your left may download a damage card and place it on one of those ships at this mission. So this is trying to target situations where you only have one ship. I guess they have to be staffed too. Okay. Yeah, so odds are you command 2 staff ships at a planet mission is going to be pretty low. Yeah, I didn't even think about they have to be staffed. Okay, so yeah, this is going to land a lot. for you. Now the question is, what good comes out of that? And there's actually not a ton of good damage cards that occur in the draw deck. So these are all events. The best one really is Persistent Strike, which is just ignores the ship's game text. You might think that Disable Sensors is a good play. Personnel aboard this ship cannot attempt missions, but if they're at a planet when they get this put on their ship, uh, you know, they're not aboard the ship when they're attempting planet missions, so this doesn't do much. So actually, there's not a ton of good damage event options to work with this right now. I suppose maybe in like a heavy crew deck, you might play this. All right, next card is another dual 2 cost. It's the Phase. This says choose a personnel who has command an officer or an android or a hologram to be stopped. If you cannot randomly select personnel until their total cost is 4 or more, place those personnel on the bottom of their owner's deck. So this is another kind of dilemma that's trying to promote playing certain species. So this is trying to promote playing android and hologram. Those aren't played super often. There's a lot more times you're going to run into a command star with officer. That'll happen on almost every deck. So this is basically a choose one to be stopped. I guess if you're targeting command stars for like a rogue Borg ship, this might be a good play. Because you're probably not going to hit that other part. If you do, it's mostly just you kind of lucked into it. All right, next card is Truculent Statecraft. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. So this is a 1 cost space dilemma. It says choose a law personnel to be stopped. If you cannot place this dilemma in your core, while you command an assault or maneuver, while your opponent commands assault or maneuver event, dilemmas cannot be prevented. So I guess the hope is if you are playing battle, you'll also be playing this dilemma, and if you can put this in their core, dilemmas cannot be prevented. Now, what is dilemmas cannot be prevented? I don't know. Is it prevent and overcome? Like, do you still overcome it if you do the prevent and overcome? Is it preventing stuff in a dilemma like the central command, right? So the central command discard top 3 cards in your deck to prevent that. So preventing a stop, but is preventing a stop the same as preventing a dilemma? Still no idea. If it handles all prevention, prevent and overcome, and like prevention, like stop prevention, it's awesome. If it does prevent and overcome only, it's just a card to beat on Borg more. And if it does stop prevention exclusively, it's pretty good then. If it does none of them, like I guess it might do now, then it's obviously not playable. All right, we'll see what happens this card. No idea how it actually works, unfortunately, and haven't got an answer in the times I've asked. All right, next card is the equipment. It's Guinan's Rifle. It's a 2 cost hand weapon. It says while in combat, each of your Aryan personnel present is strength +3. Sorry again if I mispronounce proper nouns. So I don't know how many people like that. Maybe Guinan and Soren are the only 2. So that's not a big effect. The other part, though, is where it matters. It says when combat begins involving your personnel with integrity greater than 7 present, you may remove this equipment from the game to prevent and stop each personnel involved. So this is a defensive card against ground battle. Pretty good if you're worried about that. Yeah. So, but you also have to be playing at least one high integrity person to have this defense. So it's so you could play ultra defensive with the mission, the space mission where your opponent can't battle you in space. You could then go to the planet and have this card. So you could play super defensive. Pretty good card. There's ways to steal equipment, so definitely not kind of overpowered in that way. Pretty good card. Next card, another equipment, 2-cost equipment. It's unique as well. This is Mantle of the Empire. This is kind of thematically just a pretty cool card. It has its game text is an order. It's non-hand weapon, kind of importantly, so it can be grav trapped, things like that. Order is name a unique Cleon. While this personnel is present, he or she gains intelligence and Chancellor and cannot be killed by dilemmas. This effect lasts until it is executed again. All right, so this is the idea here is you make one of your Cleons a Chancellor. They gain intelligence, which is a nice skill to have in general, but it's also a skill on another card we'll go over later. It also gives them Chancellor keyword, which really right now can only be used with the Navar ships. One gives attribute boost to Chancellors, and the other one, I think, a Chancellor needs to fly it, and then it lets you have battles on I guess, hand-to-hand combat. What is that, assault? I think it's combat. I think it's just called combat. Yeah. So it lets you have combat. It lets you do combat at headquarters. I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I think it costs one more than it really should, but it's kind of thematic. If you're playing clans, it might be a fun way to do some interesting stuff. Okay. Next card is Omnipotent Armament. 3-cost unique equipment as well. It's a hand weapon. The text is order, destroy your Q event that costs 3 or more and remove this equipment from the game to begin combat involving your personnel. If you win, choose a non-headquarters mission you command. The opponent on your left places the top 3 dilemmas underneath that mission. Otherwise, you lose the game. So it's kind of actually has some, it has a kind of a fun last sentence on there. Otherwise, you lose the game. Which actually, normally you think, oh, well, what are the odds I lose combat? It should be pretty rare, but there's some kind of interesting interactions, I think, right now. So it's a way for you to battle, and if you do the battle, you can get 3 free dilemmas, which is a lot. The cost is you have to destroy a Q event that costs 3 or more, and there's actually not a ton of great Q events that cost 3 or more. So it's trying to push. Let me just see if I can bring a couple of keywords. Q. I'll go through events. So like a couple of the events, like Bigger Tattoo is one. Not easily avoided. Parting Thought. So a couple of these are. So there's not a ton of 3 cost or more. Yeah, that's it. Quarantine is the other one. So there's only like 4 different Q events that cost 3 or more, and none of them are super popular. So that omnipotent arm is a really strong card, but to get it to work, you have to play one of these more weaker cards to make it work. But all those cards are kind of can do some cool stuff. So I like it. I like that it pushes people to play new cards. And so there's interaction with this, and I'll go through that, kind of the other interaction with this later. But one of the interactions I'm not certain with is how this works with Guinan's Rifle. So Guinan Rifle prevents a combat from happening. If that combat gets prevented, and it was started this omnipotent armament, does that count the lose the game if it gets prevented? So it's like otherwise you lose the game. Again, don't really know. We'll try to figure out what that actually does. All right, next card is Tommy Gun. This is a unique 2-cost equipment. Again, this is a hand weapon. This is when you win combat involving your thief, command TOS personnel, or command TNG personnel. Randomly select a personnel involved to be killed. If that personal is a Borg or a hologram, randomly select a second personal of all to be killed. So this is, I don't know. I guess they think people just hate the Borg so much they want to just throw some extra kills on top of this. Um, I guess it's thematic in a way. Yeah, so this is kind of a card to give some benefit to combat for some affiliations that don't really do it too often. We'll see. Yeah, a card like this, going along with some of those artifacts that let you kill someone when you battle. It could get pretty crazy. But right now, I'm not sure if this is a great card. It's hard to figure out what obviously what it would be paired with to win games. Okay, next card, the first event. This is a pretty cool one. This is all available personnel. It's a two-cost event that plays in your core. Um, the order is when you place an assault or maneuver interrupt from your hand on the bottom of your deck, and then you can place a non-unique officer at a headquarters mission where they could be played, and you can do it once a turn. So this got spoiled early, and I thought it was going to be a really great card, and I think it can be, but there's not actually a ton of personnel that you really want that are eligible for this. So because you're actually losing one of these interrupts to use the effect, you can think of that as that costs a counter. So any one cost non-unique officer, you're basically breaking even. Um, and you basically gain a counter for a two-cost personnel. You gain two counters for a three-cost personnel if you can do that. Is that good? Yeah, it's some extra counters, which is always strong. The challenge with that is if you're dedicating a lot of your deck to these assault or maneuver cards, you really need to get this card out early. Otherwise, you have a ton of dead draws in your hand because those interrupts aren't going to be doing anything. So you have to have a deck revolved around this, but the personnel that you can pick from aren't really great. I think the only deck I would do this right now with is maybe Cardassians, but Cardassians are already the best deck, so I don't know. and, Not sure how this moves the needle. Maybe Starfleet. Starfleet has a couple officers, like Greer is a three-cost officer, but yeah, hard to say. Um, I think this obviously has a card to get better in the future. Every time they make a non-unique officer, they're eligible for this, and so that can push one affiliation up or down. Or I guess it could make a deck overnight if they just released a five-cost non-unique officer that was just a stat horse or something like that. That would make that affiliation instantly strong with this card. But we'll see. Right now, I think it's potential, but I think it'll be better in the future. All right, next card. This is the one that has already been errated. This is a change of venue. It's a five-cost event, and let me read the text what it originally was, and I'll tell you the differences. So originally, and this is the images, the original text hasn't been updated yet. I don't think. Yeah. So it says when you play this event, if you have a lower score than each of your opponents, it is cost -4. Choose a dilemma or event on one of your non-headquarters missions. Place that card on one of your opponent's missions, and then you destroy this thing. So this was basically broken, the first week. There's some obvious, just really strong combos where you put one of your kind of painful events for your opponent. You basically get to put that on their mission. So like a card like before you could put a card like Cargo Run on there, right? So you could just put Cargo Run in your mission, then flip this over to them. Now their mission requires acquisition, which is kind of a pain obviously to deal with. Where I guess it got broken, but I'm not sure how if the ruling was wrong on this. But the one thing that really just broke this is someone put expand the collective on an opponent's mission, and this lets you attempt the mission. So presumably, the way they were playing it was the Borg player could attempt the other player's missions, which was really screwed up. And then like how to deal with like a solved mission, it just created some problems. So the way that they routed it, and I think basically made it useless overnight, is they just said it has to be your so it's going to be broken to useless overnight. Not useless, but not. I wouldn't play it. I don't think, unless I'm expecting Maki, like heavy Maki. Um, yeah. So now it just has to be an opponent's dilemma or event, um, which I don't know. I think it can still kind of lead into some weird interactions, potentially, but I don't know. I think I think if it happens and it breaks the game, then good for that game. All right. Next card is the ritual of the set, and this is Code of the Ushan. Like I said, it's a ritual, so it's a zero cost event. Plays in your core. Each player cannot spend more than 7 counters during their play and draw segments. So this card is a huge meta changer. It basically makes any deck that requires that plays on needing at what cost to really operate, makes that much more susceptible to a bad draw. So like if your opponent plays this turn one, they even play the mission to download a ritual. They play this turn one. You've basically set up to have a bad draw all game, because you'll never be able to use at what cost to get your deck kind of online. Also hit Surprise Party, which is good because Surprise Party is stupid. There's like some Ferengi stuff that are also kind of stupid that hits this. So I think this is an awesome card. I think it should have been made 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 15 years ago, whenever 20 sets ago. It's really good card. I mean, the one thing I think it does is it kind of hits some other stuff that I wish it wouldn't have. So like it hits what's the infiltrator one? Undercover resource. Yeah, so like this one, you got an extra counter by having an infiltrator at your opponent's mission, which I thought was pretty cool. I actually made a deck revolved around this, which worked really well. But that deck now is much worse. If I played it again, I would just make sure I have ample event destruction to deal with this Code of Ushan. Okay. Here, 1 second. All right. Oh, this mic's gonna shut off here. Auto shut off. Well, we'll deal with it when it happens. Okay. Yeah. So Code of Ushan, I think, is a big meta changing card. The next, I guess I'll try to do all these cards together. It's cripple engines, disable shields, and target the main generator. So disable engines, and they're all kind of have a very similar theme. They're 1-cost maneuver events that play in your core, and all of them involve you beginning an engagement with your officer. And if you win, it gives you a lot of draw. If you lose, it does kind of some other effect. So this one is the one that gives you draw based on the range of the opponent's ship. And if you lose it, you still get to remove a personnel from their ship. So it actually, so if you play this even with weak ships, you can hoping to get some draw out of it, but you can't win. You still get something out of it, which is makes the card just a lot better than it would be otherwise. Target the Main Generator has a very similar situation. Instead of range, it looks at weapons. Again, it bounces a personnel if you win, if you lose. The other one that's different, and I think is probably the best of the three, is this disable shields. So this one, instead of win it, if we lose it, so this, okay, so if you win, you draw based on shields. But if you lose, you actually put this as a damage marker on the ship. And it's, you wouldn't be playing this to try to destroy a ship, because by putting this on, actually part of the damage is that it requires an additional damage marker to destroy it. But what it the nice part about it does is it lowers the shields of of the ship it's on by 4. So this lets you, you know, you lose a battle with this card initially, you put this on opponent's ship, and then now their shields -4, and so then you can attack again with any of the other cards or some other battle card, or another copy of this card to get draw out of it. So this is the best of the three by far. You know, if I were, you know, very unlikely I would play anything other than this. If I only had to pick one of them. The other thing about this is pretty great is there's a lot of dilemmas that deal with shields, like if your opponent has so few shields or total attributes. So this actually can be used to set up dilemmas too, which also makes it just the better of the three. I love these effects. I think when I talked to Ross a while ago, we were talking about battle. I told him something along those, battle is great, but I like to get boosts out of battle rather than always getting just like killing my opponent and putting them further behind. But I don't want to make it cheap where I get, just free dilemmas out of it. I said, well, the way to do it is you just make it like you get an at what cost. And by drawing, all these cards are going to draw you basically 7 cards. They're going to fill your hand. And it's the order phase, so you're going to be discarding down to 7 at the end. So all of them give you probably, depending on your hand size when you begin, either 7 cards or 5 cards. So they're all basically an at what cost worth of counters out of it. So pretty good. I really like the whole theme around this. And now you can play battle cards that you're playing. Offensively trying to solve missions faster than your opponent, but you're playing battle cards to speed up your draw. Really great cards. Okay. Next card we'll move on to is Dark Dissension. This is a 1-cost event designed for Tarek Nor. It's a paranoia keyword, which is interesting. I'm not sure Tarek Nor or personnel that can be Tarek Nor actually deal with this paranoia stuff, but maybe in the future. Anyway, so it plays in your core. It's non-unique. And your Tarek Nor ships are each weapons +1 and shields -1, and your Tarek Nor personnel are each integrity -1 and cunning +1. So obviously this is a great card if you are battling your opponent. So all the Tarek Nor ships, so the non-unique Jem'Hadar warship and the attack ship are both Tarek Nor icons. So this is going to make the attack ship. So if you just want kind of the cheapest way to battle, you can play the attack ship for 5 counters. It only needs 2 people to staff it. You got a couple of Dark Dissension out. This is going to be like 10, 11 weapons, which is going to be able to attack anything. So if you want to play a lot of battle, you can do that really easy. Also, you can just put on a warship. Warship's going to be stronger as well. If your opponent's playing battle, they're going to hit you more often too, so it's kind of a fun trade-off there. The other side of that, which is maybe even the stronger part of that, is that your Tarek Nor personnel are each integrity -1 and cunning +1. So I think everyone knows Tarek Nor personnel aren't great. Maybe this is kind of a good. I usually Tarek Nor starts with strength missions, so you might say you start off, strength mission, your last mission is cunning, hoping you get a couple of these out in play. It's to make your guys cunning +2 at the point. But I think where the card can be really interesting is with Reclaim Tarek Nor. So Reclaim Terrak Nor is a card that like hasn't been really played at all, from set 14, and each of your Cardassian and Dominion personnel you own gain Terrak Nor icons. So you can, and then this is a decay, lasts for start of each turn. So this lasts for 3 turns. Um, but so you can play like a Cardassian Cunning deck with the Reclaim Terrak Nor and um, Dark Dissension. To now all your Cardassians are going to be Cunning +1, which is going to just another way to make Cardassians overpowered. Also can be done with Dominion. So traditionally people play Dominion around strength missions, but I think there's at least one deck out there that I've been thinking about where you could play Dominion Cunning missions where this combo would be really good. So we'll see. All good card. Obviously, it's kind of just a nice card to make Dominion have to be able to battle more reliably. Awesome. All right. The next is a set of 2 cards I'll talk about as well. One is Imperial Occupation and the other is Invasion Plans, and they're very similar. They're both 3-cost assault maneuvers that play in your core. The order is begin combat or engagement involving your officer personnel. If you win, place this on the mission where that personnel is involved. So both these cards have that exact same text. Now, where they differ is Imperial Occupation makes planet and space dilemmas revealed at this mission cost -1. And the Invasion Plans makes the dual dilemmas cost -1. Both, I would say, not super interesting cards. Where it actually gets pretty cool, and I didn't realize this right away, is that so when you win with this card, either of these cards, you put the event on that mission. Now that doesn't actually stop you from using the order text, on a subsequent turn. So you can battle them once using one of these cards at one of their missions. If they go and solve that and move on to the next one, you can battle them again using the same card and then just move this event to that mission. Pretty cool. Obviously if you're playing a deck that gets a lot of bonuses from winning battle, using one card to play battle over and over again is really strong. Yeah. These 2 cards in particular are far inferior to the third option. That's very much like this effect, but very much like these cards, but different. It's just basically better in every way. Okay, so this is Life-Changing Encounter. Instead of being 3-cost dual dilemma, it's 2-cost. And in addition to being assault and maneuver, it's also Q and temporal. So it just has, it's cheap. It's kind of cheap for a battle card. Has a ton of keywords. Keywords help you get cards out faster. A lot of downloads target certain keywords. So that's right. So this is very similar as well. You begin combat or engagement. You place this card on the mission, just like Invasion Plans or Imperial Occupation. Now this has a limit of 1 per mission, which is is needed, but that's fine. And what it does is it make each personnel at this mission attributes -1. And so again, you can keep playing this on missions. Move this from one mission to the next. You obviously just can't put 2 on the same mission. Now, making each personnel attributes -1 versus making a dilemma cost -1. Making personnel attributes -1 is way stronger. I think there's probably 4 affiliations right now you could play an attribute reduction type of deck using this card and a couple of the other cards that are out there to really, really just like freeze your opponent at certain missions. You can imagine, and once you make all personnel cost attributes -2, now you might be running around with a bunch of 4 cunnings trying to solve missions, and there's a lot of dilemmas that can hurt mega tempting too. So yeah, and that's just -2. That's lots. There's probably easy. There's easy ways to get to -3 or -4 for some affiliations and do all sorts of crazy stuff. Yeah, so this card is insane. Is it broken? Not right now. We'll see what happens to the decks that come with it. But I predict this will be really strong. I was trying to make a deck build around this in the online tournament I'm playing this month. It was way too big, and I was trying to just do everything, everything with this expansion in that deck. So I scrapped it into something a little tighter. But in the future, I'm gonna make a deck around this and have just stonewall your opponent. Okay. Okay. Let's moving on. Yeah, I think this will be one of the top cards of the. And it's a reason why you almost need event destruction anymore, because if you can get this on a mission, it's strong. Yeah, and if this is played a ton, maybe that does make change of venue a lot more popular. So yeah, maybe it's all good. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. Okay. Next is Logical Lifeline. This is a. Okay, looks like we're still on. Excuse me. Sorry. Logical Lifeline. Excuse me. Logistical Lifeline. This is a one-cost event, and this is a crime keyword. To play this event, you have to command a smuggler personnel. So, plenty of non-unique smugglers, so available to many affiliations. It goes in your core, and during each of your discard excess card segments, you can keep one additional card in your hand for each different maneuver and each different pursuit event you command. So this is kind of the obvious card that needed to get made to pair with like the cripple engines, disable shields, all that extra draw. So again, importantly, it's for each maneuver and pursuit event you command. So like if you have Imperial Occupation on your opponent's mission, that gives you one card for Logistical Lifeline. It's a little, it might not be the easiest to get it out. There's some easier ways to get crime cards out. A couple smugglers that are decent. I guess it's 2 cost, or it's 1 cost, and then plus the draw. You're really gonna have to be playing, I think, a ton of cripple engines. Like might be playing all 9 of those cards, to get some use out of this. The problem with this is, let's say you get it working and you get 12 cards in your hand and you're really happy about that, and you go to a mission and you get Dreamered, like you're 0. So, obviously, being able to have more cards, being able to not have to discard at the end is pretty good. But how often are you in that? How often do you need to be in that situation? We'll see. Depends how good those draw battle cards are. All right. Next card is Orbital Weapon Platform. This is a Dominion event, and I don't think we've seen much like it before. To play this event, you must command 6 Dominion personnel, so it's kind of has a steep Dominion requirement by design in there, a little more than 3. You play it on an opponent's planet mission, and while they have completed a space mission, they must have total shields greater than 12 at this mission to attempt it. And then also each damage dilemma revealed at this mission is cost -1. So, okay, well, the damage dilemma part, I don't know, maybe it's good. It doesn't seem that great. So the big part is just that they have to, it's kind of a way to stop your opponent from attempting a mission without a second ship. Yeah, actually, now thinking about this card also pairs really well with another card that pairs well with purposefully losing on disable shields. So if you put your ship out, lose to one of the ships, get this on there. Now their shields -4. Having one ship with shields -4, you might need three ships out to attempt with this on. Pretty good. It's gonna be, I don't know. They seem to the Dominion right now seems to just be like make your opponent cry if they don't draw enough ships, and this is another card to do it. So I recommend playing more ships. Is you know, Play more ships for sure. In general, a lot of ways to screw ships over right now. So another card that does exactly that is this Provocative Levity. This is a 4-cost maneuver, plays in your core. You destroy this event to place an opponent's staff non-voyager ship at your Nebula mission, where you command a staff ship. And then you begin an engagement involving your TOS personnel at that mission. If you win, kill 2 people. So this card will move your opponent's ship to your mission, your own Nebula mission. So you could just be going out and attempting a Nebula mission with your TOS people in the Alpha Quadrant, and you bring your opponent there and you fight them because you want to just fight them at your mission. That's like how the card is actually looks like it's designed to be played, but all the other aspects of the card make it pretty strong in different ways. So the first is that to begin the engagement, you have to have a TOS personnel. Well, there's no TOS restriction on playing this card, so you can play it in a Borg deck to move a ship to your Nebula mission if you wanted to. You could, yes, you can do it with any affiliation. You can also do it with any of your missions you just want to deal with your opponent at. So you could potentially set up there's a bunch of Nebula missions in the Delta Quadrant. You could play one in your deck, play this card, move your ship out to the Delta Quadrant, use the order on this text. Now your opponent's ship is out in the Delta Quadrant. If you get a range reduction card on them, maybe they're stranded out there. Because the other thing is, right, so if you move your opponent's ship to your Nebula mission and you're not playing TOS, you can't begin the engagement. So instead, you can begin a different engagement, right? You can just play what's the shields one? Precise attack. Yeah, so you could just play, right? So you could be playing, I don't know, Romulan, play a Romulan deck with Inversion Mystery. Sorry, this is a 4-span Nebula Delta Quadrant mission. You go out here to attempt it. Or actually, no, you don't even go out to attempt it. You just move your ship out here. Used Provocative Levity to move your opponent's ship out to here. And then you begin engagement and fight them with Precise Attack. So now if they have to move quadrants, that's 6 now. Right, so it's 4-span plus 2 more for the quadrant is 6, plus 2 more Precise Attack is 2 more, that's 8. So your opponent is going to be needing 10 range to move to any 2-span mission. So that's, you can strand someone pretty easy that way. I think this will become popular. We'll see. There's a few ways you can do it. I think stranding opponent. I think I'm expecting someone to play something like that in the online tournament. So we'll see. Okay, let's move on. Ruthless Efficiency. So this is a 1-cost event. Excuse me. It's a pursuit, which is important. There's a lot of cards that can download pursuits, that can pull pursuits out. So very likely you can design your deck to get this out in the game. It's unique. Uniqueness doesn't really matter. But so it says when you win an engagement involving your intelligence personnel, you can discard a maneuver interrupt from hand to unstop each of those personnel and ships involved and restore all range on your ships of use. So basically and you can't begin another engagement. So basically you can, if you have this in your core, you begin an engagement, you fight them with intelligence personnel, you can toss a maneuver interrupt, and then you're unstopped, you can do the rest of your turn. Now there's actually not a ton of maneuver interrupts. There's a few that got released in this set. We'll get to them in a second, but there's not a ton of maneuver interrupts that are really good. So again, kind of like so it's almost a necessary card if you're playing heavy battle. Um, but then you're going to be having all these extra interrupts in your hand that that you're going to have to be dealing with. Maybe the best way is to play ruthless efficiency and all available personnel. Yeah, probably. Um, anyway, yeah. So it involves intelligence personnel. So earlier on, you remember I talked about Man of the Empire. It's kind of a nice that Man of the Empire can be used with ruthless efficiency. Um, yeah, I don't know if you can play it on Clan because you have cavalry raid. This is basically a cavalry raid, but it doesn't go away. It just requires you to play or have some maneuver events in your hand. Um, probably see a lot of play, and it's pursuit, so it works. It works obviously with logistical lifeline and stuff like that. All right, next card, Scum and Villainy, 0 cost event. To play this event, you must command 3 thief personnel. Plays in your core. Um, name a personnel. Each person on your own with that title gains thief. It is so it's a way to make people gain thief. It's not restricted to unique personnel, so you can name a non-unique personnel when you do that. I'm not sure if that matters for thieves, so I've never really played them. The order is a little interesting since there's a couple strong hand weapons that are in this set and some others out there right now. You stop a thief to take command of that hand weapon, and you can do it once a turn. So it's a good way to steal like that assassin rifle. What is that? TR-00, not TR-11, 16 rifles. This is super popular to snipe people. You might be able to have the chance to steal it with your thief. I really don't know if thieves are any good, so I'm not sure if this card is going to be interesting or not. There is some, I think, legit reasonable concern that you have to name a personnel and it's a non-unique event. So if you have 3 of these out there with you name 3 different people, it might be confusing. Yeah, it is what it is. All right, move on. Next card is Search and Destroy. So this is not the last one, I guess, but one of the other battle cards in the set. Kind of has the unique effect. It's a 3-cost event, Assault Maneuver. He plays in your core. The order is destroy this event to begin combat or engagement involving your admiral, general, or legate. If you win, name an event. All copies of the event are destroyed. So it's an event destruction card. By winning a battle, you can destroy an event. Now, so it's 3 costs. You have to win a battle. You get to destroy all copies of that event. I don't know if the all copies is actually much. If that's part of it's that great, because if you compare it to a card like just like Tacking into the Wind, which is a super bland card, it's 4 costs, by default, and you destroy an event and you don't have to fight them. So I don't know. I feel like Search and Destroy is kind of an interesting card. I really think I think all the battle cards, they really kind of messed up the cost of it. Like I think like this should be 1. And maybe these draw ones should be like 2 counters or something like that. This seems like way too much for a 3. I don't know. I would never pay 3 for it unless I'm desperate for battle. But it's restricted by affiliations too with the Admiral, General, Legate as well. So I don't know. I don't think this will see much play, unfortunately. Okay, next card, Shock Troops. This is a 2-cost event. Assault plays in your core. The order is destroy this event to begin combat involving your Riemann. Your non-Riemanns are not involved. If you win, you can kill any number of your Riemanns, and the loser will randomly select an equal number of their personal involved to be killed. So this can be a huge high roll. So let's say you send down 9 Riemanns to fight, you know, 9 of your opponent's personnel. Riemanns have a little more strength, so maybe you win. You can kill all 9 of your Riemanns to kill all 9 of their personnel. Now that's, it's 1 for 1, which might not be great for you, to lose a bunch of people, but like all the Riemanns are like cost 1. They're kind of scrubs. If you're playing that many Riemanns, you're very likely to be playing the scimitar. So every Riemann you play actually gives you an extra counter because of this card. So this card is pretty nuts, I think. The downside, and I think the way that's actually kind of interesting, is you have to really play. You as a player playing Riemanns have to play a lot into this card, and your opponent has to play a lot around it. So it kind of creates a nice, interesting mini game about, how many Riemanns do I have out? How many does my opponent have out? Like, you can't have a deck that's only like a third Riemanns, because if a third of your cards are Riemanns, you might not win a battle with a third of your personnel unless your opponent, unless you can kill a bunch of people or deal with that in some way. So it's a super high roll card. And I actually don't think it's a win more card that much, because there's other. I guess you could think of it as maybe a win more card. Certainly, I don't know. It's interesting in a lot of ways. Um, like I said, you and your opponent. If your opponent starts seeing you play Riemanns, they're gonna have to be constantly playing around this all game, because like I said, you can kill. So right now there are 15. Okay, I think there are 5 non-unique Riemanns and 1 unique one in the Viceroy. So you could potentially have 16 Riemanns out. Let's say you have half that, killing 8 people of your opponent. Like that might be all they have. So pretty crazy card. All right, let's move on. Strategic Tug of War. This is a 1-cost event. You play it on a non-headquarters mission. When a player, so any player, wins combat or engagement at this mission, they may choose 1, draw 3 cards, or place a personnel from hand on the headquarters where they can be played. I really like this card. It's so basically you can think of it as you have to draw it for 1, play it for another. So it's 2 counters. And if you win a battle, you get to draw 3 cards, so that you basically get an extra counter it, or you can place a personnel on hand where they can be played. So really, this actually synergizes really well with all those draw cards, those draw events. So let's say you do target the main generator, you win, you draw weapons. So let's say you draw 8 cards, you're going to have way too many cards in your hand. One of those is a high cost personnel. You use Strategic Tug of War if it's on that mission to throw a personnel down. Potentially have, there's no limit on this in the mission, so you could have 2 or 3 on there, and then, you can place, so you could draw 8 cards, put Denatra and Data down on your headquarters mission. Like that's for that number of counters, that's a huge payoff from battle. So I think this is actually kind of the card that makes all those draw cards work. And you have to put it on a headquarters mission, or you have to put it on a mission. So there's gonna be some gamesmanship, but like if you get a couple of these on, is your opponent to leave that mission? There's a lot of gamesmanship involved in this card. I really like it. I really like the whole draw for winning battle strategy. I think it's the best thing they've done in a long time. All right, let's move on. So that's the end of the events. All right, let's get into interrupts. So the first interrupt is calculated concession. Uh, this is just as order. It says return a dilemma beneath one of your incomplete missions to its owner's dilemma pile to destroy an event. So you give your opponent back a dilemma under one of your missions that is not complete, and you get a destroy event. Very simple card. Cost seems cost seems about right. Um, I think some people think it might be too strong. I don't really see that. If you just or you have your deck and you're a solver and you're like, well, I need to have event destruction. This is the card to throw in there. You don't have to throw any other equipment, do anything other special to destroy an event. Just be like, well, I'm gonna, you know, give my opponent basically, extra uh, dilemma for the opportunity for event destruction. Really simple card, really good card. I like it. All right, next card, and I'll actually include kind of both these at the same time. It's Defended in Hope, and the other one is Stunning Reversal. So let's go ahead and Defend in Hope first. Well, we'll just go through what they share in common. So they're both interrupts, and they have some text. This one is an assault. Defend in Hope is an assault. Or a Stunning Reversal is assault and a maneuver. Both of them have this order text, which I think is. We'll see how this ends up playing out. If this is going to make these cards just 3 times in every deck or not. But it's an order. It's you stop leadership personnel to draw 2 cards. So the cost to this card is to draw it, right? So it's 1 cost, and or counts you one cost you 1 draw, and then you get 2 draws out of it, and all you have to do is stop leadership personnel. Now, in like the first 3 or 4 turns of the game, your personnel are just sitting on a headquarters doing nothing anyway. So this is a basically draw 1 to draw 2 cards, which is it's balance wise, it's basically 1 free counter. So you might see a lot of people playing 3 copies of this and the other one. Now, okay, so what do they do? So you can say, well, I might expect a lot of people to play these cards. Now, I think it's very interesting with that mindset. So if everyone's going to be playing 3 copies of this card, you're always going to have to be playing around what this card does. And this is an assault interrupt, and it says when an opponent begins combat, if they have a higher score than you, or when an opponent begins combat, if they have a higher score than you, or do not command a completed mission, each of your personal involved is strength +6. So let's say you're playing, and if your opponent is ahead of you, or they haven't solved a mission yet. So if you're behind on them, or you're just going out there and your opponent has been sitting around all day waiting to fight you, you can play this and all your people are strength +6, which is huge. That's going to be a double strength probably for most of your people. So if it's six of your opponent's Cleons versus 6 of your humans, you would normally lose. You play this, you're going to win that easily. Now this is going to make almost all combat occur in a certain window of the game. So it's either going, or you're going to have to deal with the possibility of losing, or have interrupt prevention or whatever. But it's basically going to make battle only really uh, guaranteed when you are down in the game, but you are attempting missions. So you can't, so battle is just a pure battle. I'm not going out and solving missions. Uh, isn't going to work out because of this card, or it's going to be not as strong. And also, if your opponent can't just be ahead of you, and let's say they got 2 missions, you got none, and they just decide to come over and slaughter all your guys, and just make the game totally out of reach. Can't do that because of this card as well. I think both of those are good things. So I like where this is going. We'll see we'll see how it goes in the future. I think if people all play 3 copies of this, does that make it too good? I don't know. It's kind of That's kind of what it's supposed to do. We'll see. Okay, stunning reversal is very similar, um, but uh, instead of giving you a bonus to fighting, it says if you happen to win an engagement your opponent started, or battle, combat or engagement your opponent started, you get to choose any of these options. So you can make them lose 10 points, you can randomly kill 3 people that were involved, or you can score 20 points. Um, I'll be super impressed when someone wins a battle their opponent started and use stunning reversal to do one of these things. That'll be great. When that happens, that'll be awesome. I think worth the 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 issue of this being just 3 copies of every deck. Yeah, so it basically creates. You don't want to just be starting bat. There's really no cost to losing battles before this card. Now this is the cost, and it's pretty steep. Again, if everyone's playing 3 copies of this, you'll have to be prepared for that. So really interesting. Both those cards are really interesting. The other interrupt in the set is a full throttle. It's a maneuver interrupts, right? So it plays off of some of those maneuver interrupt things that require maneuver interrupt, like ruthless efficiency, and also all available personnel. So actually, the keywords are probably the most important part of it. It has pursuit as well, so there's a lot of cards that play off pursuit. What it is it gives your ship with its corresponding commander board range +5 for the turn, which is you want that sometime. People play some range enhancing cards. It's a little you have to plan around a little bit of your deck, but again, if you're kind of just playing it for the keywords, if you can use the order to get an extra mission attempt in, it's definitely worth it. So really good card. Probably one of the considering the existing maneuver interrupts, this one might be the best. It's really the only one that's offensive. So I think it'll be popular. It'll be popular. It'll be very popular if all available personnel is popular. Again, so those cards will always just kind of get better over time. All right, moving on. We got Earth Outpost 4 Border Incursion. This is a 35-point space mission in the Alpha Quadrant, in the neutral zone. Attribute requirements: Nav, 2 Officer, Cunning 36, and Honor or Treachery. So actually not really super difficult requirements. 2 Officer could be a little, personal duty is going to come in with the 2 Officer, but if it wasn't for the game text, the card would never get played. But the game text makes the card pretty cool. So it's when you begin a mission attempt here, if you won combat or engagement this turn, reduce this mission attributes by 10 until the end of the mission attempt. So if you have a battle, you win the battle. Now this is going to be Nav, 2 Officer, Cunning 26, and Honor or Treachery for 35 points. That's a very good mission. And if that was on every mission, that would be a very popular stat line. So, but you have to win a battle on the turn you do it. Open to Fed, Cleons, non-aligned, and Romulan. So any, because of non-aligned, most affiliations can do it if they need to. Has some thematic, interest in the neutral zone. There's some, cards that play on that. Yeah, I like it. I really like it. It makes kind of an interesting third mission. So once you've done your normal missions and you're kind of just battling maybe continuously throughout the game, you can come over to your last mission and get it a lot easier. Really like the card. All right, moving on. We have Gorlan Sector. This is another space mission in the Alpha Quadrant for 35 points. It has the mirror keyword, so that is the same keyword as the Terrak Nor alternate universe headquarters. And that'll play a role in a second here. It is open to Bajorans and Starfleet, so um, a little restricted on who can get it. They're so it's really designed to be playing in like an alternate universe deck. Everything about the card is streams that. Um, Obviously, you're playing Starfleet. No problem attempting this. If you're playing Terrak Nor, there's not a ton of Bajorans with uh, alternate universe. There's actually this set actually got the first non-unique Bajoran, which we'll probably be getting to very shortly. Um, yeah, but all right. So yeah, it's a little maybe harder for KCA attempting it. Um, but there's actually an aspect of it that plays in KCA, which we'll talk about. Okay, so the mission is Leadership, Nav, Officer, Security 2, Treachery, and Strength 36. So 6 skills and Strength 36. That's a hard mission to solve. Um, the skills themselves aren't that, the skills are pretty common for. I think they're really common for Starfleet. Not sure for Terrak Nor. You can probably find plenty of non-uniques that can fit that. Um, Text is when a card opponent owns is about to prevent or destroy your assault or maneuver event, you can discard a alternate universe card from hand to prevent that. So, if you're playing a lot of battle in an alternate universe and your opponent is trying to be diligent destroying your events, that's not going to happen. Maybe even enough to play this in I don't know. It'd be hard to play it in a different in not a Starfleet or Terrak Nor deck, I think. Uh, just because how are you going to get the affiliations to attempt it? So I think we'll see. I think it depends on if Terrak Nor. I think there's a good Terrak Nor deck that plays just battle, and I think if that works out, this is going to be an obvious card for them to play. Um, yeah. All right. Let's move on. I feel like. Okay. Well, they're not okay. The cards are in the exact order now, but we'll just go through them what they are. All right. All right. First personnel we're gonna go through is Bach, Spiteful Salvager. He's a 2/6/5 command star. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's the same stat line as the other Bach, but it might be. He's a commander of the Kurdon, engineer officer, program 2 treachery. I'm not going to read out their attributes anymore. I'll just maybe say the important stuff. All right, so when you play him, you may download Thoughtmaker, Picard, or the Stargazer. You may play Thoughtmaker or Stargazer as if you command a completed mission requiring acquisition. So it's one card that's like all a combo in itself. It gets you the card. It lets you play it. Uh, I don't know. I think it's okay. I think the Picard and the Stargazer that are Ferengi kind of suck. Thoughtmaker, Thoughtmaker isn't that great. It just basically lets you replay the same dilemmas over and over again, which is a boring part of the game. So I don't know. Maybe someone will make this deck work out. If they do, I don't really want to play him because I don't want to face the same dilemmas over and over again. So I don't know. Bad card, but I suppose someone might like it. All right. Next is Diavani Raw. This is the infamous 2 strength Diavani Raw. Um, he's he's non-unique, a 3/6/2. He's got some interesting skills. Acquisition is good because it pairs with the low integrity for nothing to lose. Telepathy is always a rare skill to have. And his order says you place a telepathy personal present on the bottom of the deck to make him gain cunning +3 and diplomacy till the end of the turn. You can do it once a turn. So I guess you ideally put some scrubby cunning or scrubby telepathy person on your bottom of your deck to make this guy a 9 cunning. Is that good? No. Um, like you're losing a personnel to make this guy cunning for 1 turn. I don't know. Maybe the acquisition is enough to make him play. I can't really see it. But importantly, hopefully he does get to 5 strength. That'd be very. We need to make sure that happens. All right, moving on. All right. Makes sense. All right, so let's do 2 cards at one time because they're related to each other. One is a new version of Tosk. This is a Dominion version of Tosk rather than the non-aligned version. And he functions a lot like Bashir Founder in a way. So you play him at cost +1, so he's going to cost you 3. You know, if you're playing for what he's designed for. And you play him on an opponent's ship. And your opponent now commands that person. At the end of your turn, if you so you give command of the toss to your opponent. At the end of the turn, if Tosk is at a headquarters mission, they lose 5 points. So the general idea is this: if you as the person that received the Tosk from your opponent has to keep him at out at your missions, otherwise you lose points. So it's so there's that aspect of it. So why is this interesting, and why do you want to just give your opponent a personnel? In one way you could say, well, if I force my opponent to have personnel out, not at headquarters missions, now they're going to be susceptible to battle in general. So I'll be able to battle them, doing any sort of the battle cards. Or I can use, and for Dominion got this new personnel called Dre, First Hunter. So when you win combat involving this personnel, you can take a personnel involved and put in your brig. So if you're playing just a Dominion battle deck, that's pretty good. It gives you an extra personnel removal out of it with the capture. But if that personnel is Tosk, each player loses 5 points. So Dominion has the Dominion headquarters deals with making your opponent lose 5 points. This could be another way for them to lose 5 points if you make them have Tosk out and he ends up getting captured in I guess combat. So I suppose your opponent could always leave him a ship and then you'd have to go over and combat him some way. But yeah, that's kind of interesting card combo. Is it good? I don't know. 4 costs for this guy, maybe. I don't know, maybe. All right, let's move on. This card is Elam Garrick, 3 cost Cardassian with the Deep Space Nine icon, so you can play him either at Cardassia or Deep Space Nine pretty easy. He pretty much has everything you want for this set. He's got low integrity and acquisition, so he's another good card against nothing to lose. He has 7 cunning, so he can play against craps. He's got intelligence for the ruthless efficiency. And he's an assassin for all the ways that you can make people cry as an assassin. So and his game text is great. And so when you win, and it's fitting this card is that great because it's Garrick from one of the best episodes of Deep Space Nine. The one where they bring the Romulans in the war. Confessions in the Pale Moonlight. So, but he says, so when you win an engagement involving your command personnel, you have to kill 2 of your non-Cardassian personnel present, and they're have to be present with Garrick. So the card's worded a little weird, but this is how it was described to me. So you have to kill of your own 2 non-Cardassians present with Garrick. If you're playing Deep Space Nine, there's gonna be plenty of them around. If you're playing Cardassian, you just have to make sure you have some non-uniques to do this. And when you do that, so you win the engagement, you do whatever you get from the engagement. You kill 2 people with Garrick, 0 cost guys or 1 cost guys, and then you have to shuffle Garrick into your deck. A lot of movement stuff here. So you kill 2 people, you shuffle Garrick in your deck, so you lost 3 people, and you get to place 2 dilemmas beneath. 2 of your opponent's dilemmas beneath one of your missions. Pretty interesting card. Um, yeah, I think if you're playing Deep Space Nine Battle, I don't know if there's a good Deep Space Nine Battle deck out there. I think there could be. Um, there's some cards to make it work. This would obviously be a big part of that deck. Cardassians, there's going to be a Cardassian battle deck. Cardassians are just so good that any extra cards they get to do stuff is just bonus. So this guy, very good in another Cardassian deck. In a Cardassian deck, you have to compete with the other Garriks. The other Garriks are also pretty good. Uh, yeah, but Deep Space Nine, this potential to make Deep Space Nine battle thing. So I really like this card. I don't know. I almost don't think it should be available to Cardassia. I think it's too strong that way, but whatever. And then Cardassians have to battle, and maybe that makes games more interesting. All right, well, let's move on. All right, Geordie LaForge, Resolute Presence. Let me just check the. Okay, we're good. 2 cost, 665. He's a commander of the U.S. Enterprise D. He has Engineer Nav Officer. And his game text is, while this personnel is aboard your Galaxy class ship, it has weapons +2 and shields +2. So this will make all your galaxies an 8, 10, 11, which is good. Gets them around outclassed, which is nice. If you're going to be playing battle with Galaxy class ships, I guess I'd recommend playing a different deck. But if you really want to, you're going to need this guy to do it. He's probably pretty interesting. You're playing like a Galaxy class swarm battle. I'm not really sure if that'd be good or just really stupid, but so he's kind of a niche card for a deck that doesn't really exist. I don't like. I thought really wanted to have leadership. I mean, leadership doesn't hurt, and that was kind of his thing in this episode, that he was such a great leader. So it's kind of weird that he doesn't have that, but I don't know. It's not a great card anyway, so whatever. All right, let's move on. Gowron, Without Honor. So he's 3 cost Gowron is Chancellor as well. Got Law, so Law is kind of important. And also has Treachery, so I think this is the only Gowron with Treachery. One of the extra plays, I think some of the other ones have Honor, or at least the one downloads an Honor personnel. But anyway, so he is a 3/5/8. So again, changes his stats a little bit. Let's see what the other Gowrons were. 6/5/8, 6/5/8, 6/5/8. Okay, so yeah, so the Gowrons are 6/5/8. This is the ones that I guess right as he's about to die to Worf, he is being really treacherous. So it's 2 treacherous. When your personnel begins a mission attempt, you may discard. When this personnel begins a mission attempt, you may discard a solid maneuver event. Add the cost of that to his attributes to the end of the mission attempt. So I think the best card to do this is with Board Cutting Beam, which it's 5 cost maneuver event. And then there's probably some other better ones that work with Klingons that might make sense. Is that good? So that's 3 cost plus 1 counter, I guess, for the draw and discard for a 8, 8, 13. Yeah, that's pretty good. You play that and the Sword of Kahless. Maybe this guy becomes just a monster, and you're micro attempting your last few missions as Klingons. Klingons already do that. Pretty strong. The other Gowrons are so good, though. It's hard to say about this one. I think it'll get played. The Treachery obviously works well with some of the other cards that are out there, like the Vorn and No Peace in Our Time. We'll see. Definitely a playable card. All right, let's move on. Next card is Hikaru Sulu. This is it's a TOS and a Earth fed. So if you're mad about that stuff, you can keep being mad. It also has another card, I think. Another aspect of it, I think, that's going to make people mad is that he's the commander of Starship Excelsior and not the USS Excelsior. There's not a card that is Starship Excelsior yet, so it's kind of an open, empty link. And then like all the other cards have like Starship in there. There's like Starship Defiant, Starship Enterprise. These are both part of the Mirror Universe. So having him as the commander of a Starship Excelsior from a Mirror Universe, that doesn't make sense. So I don't know. I think they just want. They're just gonna have to, create. They're gonna create a new ship that's called the Starship Excelsior that is just gonna be different than the typical USS Excelsior. Um, all right, so he's got good stats, good skills for 3 cost, but the game text is what is really interesting about him. So it says at the start of your turn, if opponent's ship is at this mission, you may place the ship this personal is aboard at a different mission to download a damage card and place it on that opponent's ship. Alright, so there's a lot of moving stuff around here, and there's a lot of kind of different scenarios. So the most obvious scenario is Sulu is on your ship at an opponent's mission. yeah. So at the start of your turn, your ship is at your opponent's mission. You move your ship away from that mission, and you put a damage card on that ship. That's I guess the most obvious situation you can get into. The other thing that actually gets weird is you can get Sulu on your opponent's ship now, like with a dimensional shifting or something like that. Right, you can play dimensional shifting. You can put Sulu on your opponent's ship. Now, so at the start, if you do that at the start of your turn, if an opponent's ship is at this mission, well, if he's on that ship, that's true. You can place the ship this personal is aboard at a different mission to download a card. So if they're on your opponent's mission, or wait, if Sulu is on your opponent's ship, you can move that ship to a different mission, and you can put a damage card on that. So it always has a built-in, so like we said before with provocative levity, right? The idea was you can move your opponent's ship to, some far span mission that they can't get out of. If you can get Sulu on your opponent's ship, you can do all that with just this card. So you can move your opponent's ship to one of your missions way out in the Delta Quadrant, Gamma Quadrant, whatever, and then you can put precise attack on it. So now it's range -2, and it might be stranded. So kind of a 1-card strand combo. Also, TOS does battle too, or ship destruction battle. So maybe you want to move your opponent's ship out there with the goal of destroying it. You could download precise attack and then play another precise attack in the same turn and do the damage stuff. So that's going to be going to make TOS battle like pretty powerful. Already was pretty powerful. All right, let's go on. Kavok. This is a Cleon that looks awfully lot like Gowron. 4 costs. 4 costs thief. Interesting a little bit. 5, 6, 8, and he has treachery, so kind of pulls with some of that other treachery stuff. His game text is what really matters. So when you play this personnel at your headquarters mission, I really don't know why kind of all this text, but so when you play this personnel, you can discard an event or interrupt to put him on your opponent's ship, and if you do that, you can move that ship to a different mission in the same quadrant. So importantly, this one says the same quadrant, so like the idea of stranding your opponent in the Delta Quadrant won't work with this guy, but he does allow you to, like, let's say your opponent is hiding in base. You can play this guy to move your opponent's ship out there. I mean, you can also actually do this. This card actually almost does the exact same thing in that case as are very similar. You can think of a situation where you can do the same thing with provocative levity, but this gives kind of cleans another way to do it, and it's personnel if that matters. Yeah. Okay card. I don't think it's gonna be as it's not as potentially game breaking as the Sulu and provocative levity play potential, but a good way to force your opponent to battle. All right, next card is Klim Dokachim. Whatever. He 6 cost personnel, so he's really expensive. And his text says when you play, so you have to actually play him to get his effect. So there's no common ground or anything like that. It says when you play him, each player may choose one, search your discard pile for a ship and place it at a headquarters mission when played, or download a ship. So let's say if you get a ship in your discard pile, you can play this guy to put that ship on your headquarters mission. One person told me they think this card is really good. I don't agree. I think it's just a pretty bland card to end the game. You might not be doing this as your first ship. It's probably for your second ship. You're paying 6 for him. It's like the same cost of a ship, and you're giving your opponent a free one. I don't know. I don't think he's that good. Someone could prove me wrong, but I mean, all the TNG cards are too expensive. This is another card that's just too expensive. Maybe if he costs like 4 would make more sense than 6. Yeah, I don't know. Don't like him. All right, Kyle Riker, hard as nails. He is Earth icon, so he can only go at Earth. So he can go to Deep Space Nine Earth or TNG Earth. Intelligence to security. Intelligence is nice, like we talked about already. No command stars, but that's fine. I guess he's the ambassador, right? I think he's ambassador, so that makes sense. His text is interesting. You discard a maneuver card to download a maneuver card. You can do it once a turn. So, if you're playing like one of those all hands decks, and if you need maneuver interrupts, and let's say you have a maneuver event, you can discard a maneuver event to get that maneuver interrupt. I think this card is awesome, but it has to be in a TOS or TNG battle deck, or excuse me, a TNG or a Deep Space Nine Earth battle deck, and those don't really exist. But if they ever do, this card is going to be insane because you're going to be able to pull out any of the cards you want. Yeah. And he's 1 cost, so like, if nothing else, you discard. You can discard some other maneuver you have to download your stunning reversal, and just use it to draw 2 cards. Right, so you discard 1 card to draw 2 cards. So he's gonna be insane. I think one of the decks out there is a really like a battle deck with weenies and playing all the draw maneuvers, and this card will be it's exactly that. It's a weenie, lets you draw a bunch. So I can see this guy being popular in a deck out there. Our next card is Latent, Sneering Liaison. This is the first card of this guy. It was kind of a funny scene from Deep Space Nine where it was Cisco Martok and this guy was giving some shit to Martok. He is a senator, which is relevant, for president's politics. He has 7 cunning as well, so that's important for the craps card. It has kind of a cool Romulan text that goes along with this set pretty well. When you play him, you can reveal an opponent's hand. You can choose an assault or maneuver event revealed and placed in your core. You now command that event. So it's kind of a cool way you can steal an assault or maneuver event. Potentially some really interesting ones, potentially ones that won't do anything, right? So like, let's say you steal All Out War. You don't really think, oh yeah, that'd be a nice one to steal. Well, you can't begin combat involving clan personnel if you're playing Romulan. So yeah, it could whiff totally. Obviously, if everyone isn't playing battle, it does nothing. And he's got decent stats, command star, cunning. So yeah, you might play him. This is probably a card. This is probably a card for Ramian where you don't play him. You know, you just keep him for craps unless your opponent is playing battle, and then you can throw them down and get a free card out of it. Okay, not super great. The stats or the skills, I don't know. Two programming, they're kind of weird. All right, let's move on. Locutus, new Locutus. He. All right, so this one, kind of some important parts of this Locutus. He has law, so law is actually potentially really important for Borg if, uh, depending on how popular translucent straightcraft is. And again, that depends on what the card actually does. So if this card is rampant because it prevents it prevents all the prevention, uh, then this card will be rampant, and then Locutus becomes almost a must-have because Borg can't, they have to have their unyielding adapts, knowledge and experience if they're playing simulation to get through dilemmas. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck forever. So the law could be key to this guy, or it could be irrelevant if if the card does nothing, like it might. Anyway, so kind of importantly, he doesn't have two leadership. So the other Locutus you normally would play in Borg has two leadership, so it can be bridge officers tested. This one does not have that, so you don't get that out of it. He's the commander of his cube as well. He says, uh, while each of your non-headquarters mission is a Borg affiliation mission, the first maneuver rate you play each turn is cost -2. And then he says if you command a maneuver event, he's cunning +2. So the big thing is that first sentence. So if you have all Borg missions, the first maneuver event you play each turn is cost -2. This is really good if you're playing a ton of maneuver events. So let's say you're playing that whole suite of target the main generator. Maybe you're playing life-changing encounter too. So if you're playing a ton of these maneuver events with Borg, he becomes really strong because he's going to make a lot of your stuff cheap. Now I think Borg, in one way, they get like hosed by almost everything in the set, and the other way they don't is that that they could be interesting is that they do have a lot of stuff that like people don't really play a lot that is good if you win engagements, but the problem is, normally you play like one card to get one engagement. There's a bunch of cards in this set that let you give multiple engagements with the same card. So like Adapted to Service Us is a card every time you win an engagement you can steal an event. Which is, so like you get a couple of these out. If you're fighting them every turn, you're going to be stealing every event, which is super cool. Other one is Change History. This one you kind of have to, get lucky because you're on the top card of your opponent's deck. You can set that up with certain cards. But like if you're battling a bunch to draw cards, playing Locutus, you could be playing Change History and Adapt to Service Us. That's a possible deck. It's there's a lot of issues with Borg now. They just get steamrolled by every dilemma out there, it seems like. But could be a fun deck. Deck I would consider replaying. So it could be good. Does he replace the other Locutus? Yeah, in that deck he does. Does he play it? You're going to be playing a lot of Borg missions, which aren't, there's some good ones, but you can't do an all alpha quadrant run, so you can't do an annexation run with him if you're playing him. So he can replace the other Locutus in certain decks, for sure. But someone has to make it. Someone has to make that deck before we know. All right, next card is a repurposed EMH hologram, he's a 6/5/5 with geology, and if you command a holo program, which I guess if you're playing holograms you probably do, he's cunning +2 and gains bio exomed, so he's 6, 7, 5, 4 skills, hologram for 1 cost in certain deck. That's really strong. Yeah, that's really strong. So I don't know anything about a hologram deck. If it's any good, if anyone plays it, this is going to be the card that goes in there. All right, next card, Savar, Alien Pawn. Uh, Another card with 7 cunning. Again with 4 craps. He is a Earth icon only, and he's a bluegill admiral. He's the Vulcan bluegill guy from the episode. So you can play him. He's any his stuff works on bluegills, so you pretty much play him all. You're gonna play him in a bluegill deck. But when you fail a mission attempt involving this personnel, there are 1 or less dilemmas overcome at this mission. You may kill him to unstop each of your stop bluegill personnel present. So this is a fail mission for another 1 or less dilemmas overcome. You kill him. Yeah. So I guess you could like send your a crew down to attempt the mission, get a bunch of dilemmas in there, a bunch of them are stop bluegills. You send this guy down solo. He's gonna fail the mission attempt as 1 person. You can kill him, and then you get all to unstop each of your stop personnel. So then you can attempt again. Yeah, so it's like a double. You get an extra attempt out there for a 4 counter guy. That's probably good. Don't know if bluegill decks are how viable they are. I think they're okay, so this will make them slightly better. Probably a good card. I went through Tosk already. Next card is Vmore. When we're going way out of order now, I realize they're all alphabetical ordered, so that's why they're not in the number order. But whatever, I don't want to edit this thing all already. All right, so this is a Bajoran non-unique alternate universe icon. So that is important because there were no non-unique alternate universe Bajorans you could play. So a lot of cards that I don't know the name of the card, but there's one card that requires you to have 3 alternate universe Bajorans to make it work. It was almost impossible to do it before this card. This card is just, like kind of the random Vulcans, is just a stat stick without a staffing icon. 666, which is, premium stat line with 5 skills, 5 good skills. Yeah, good, good card. This is gonna fill skill holes, or maybe even these are mission skills for a Terrak Nor deck, or even just a Bajoran deck. So probably a good card. Not really sure about it, but I think it'll be good. Next card, Winadami. This card, she's a Kai, 3-cost Kai, 6/3, 6/4, with a Terrak Nor icon. So you always have to remember these cards can be played at Terrak Nor, also can be played at Bajor. So either of those are options for this person. When you play her, you can remove 2 cards in your discard pile from the game. You can download 2 cards. They must be Terrak Nor icon cards or maneuver cards. So if you are playing Terrak Nor and you can download 2 Terrak Nor cards of your choice, that is very good for 3 cost. Also, if you're playing Terrak Nor and you're playing Battle, this will be another great card to do that. It's just going to make doing that really easy. And the other thing I think is maybe less obvious. You're kind of expecting to play Battle at Terrak Nor. You could also play Battle at Bajor. No idea if there are any good maneuver kind of cards to work for Bajor, but downloading maneuver cards, if you're playing like an attention all hands deck, this can download you 2 of the maneuver interrupts to get use out of that. So this will be a pretty good card. I mean, it'll probably go into just every Terrak Nor deck because 2 free downloads is pretty nuts. but we'll see about the battle stuff. All right, on to the ships, the last ship. So this is the IKS Chante. This is Claw's ship. I think it's Claw. This dude. Um, so ship is a 3-cost Burrell Bird of Prey. So it has a past icon, which is relevant for certain clan cards. It's a 6/7/7, kind of the same stat line as other ships of that class, I think. Um, and it gets some bonuses based on maneuvers engagement. So if you command a maneuver event, this ship is attributes +1. So if you just command a maneuver, you're running. This is a 7/8/8 ship, which is okay. Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty good for three. And then while the ship is in engagement, is weapons +1. So if you have an event, you're in an engagement. So if you didn't have to destroy the only event you had to begin the engagement, this should be a 9 weapons when you're fighting, which is going to hit pretty much any of the really wimpy ships in the game. It's not going to hit anything big. um, probably won't hit anything over like a 5-cost ship. Maybe, yeah, probably like 6. Yeah, anything over a 5 or 6 cost, it's not going to hit. But maybe that's okay, especially if you're trying to get disable shields on ships as part of this. So it's a cheap ship, relatively easy staff will have good stats for battle, so this is kind of a good ship to have around for battle. Is there like a Cleon? Is there a problem with? I don't know. Do you pay? So it's a 9. It's a 9 weapons. That's the same as a Vorcha, I guess. Vorcha's a 9 for 5. Yeah, so I suppose if you're playing battle, this is I guess the ship you want to do it. It's just cheaper and has the same weapons, easier to staff. All right, so next card is Kraxon. This is a card that has got a lot of interest, I think. It is a Cardassian Galar class ship, can only be played at Cardassia by default. And says it's an 8/8/8, so it's the same as all Galar classes, a 6 cost, like all the other unique Galars. It says when an engagement begins involving this ship, each opponent discards a number of cards from the hand equal to the total cost of ships at this mission. So there are kind of some obvious things about the card and some things that a lot of combos with this card that I think are pretty interesting. So the first thing is that it's just when an engagement begins involving this ship, the opponent has to discard. So you don't have to win, right? So if your opponent is a Borg cube and you fight them, they still have to discard. They're gonna have to discard 7 cards from the top of their deck, or 6 cards, I guess, depending on the cube. And it also hits the cost of the ship. So actually, like, relativity is a 0 cost, so you actually don't get any discards out of that against relativity. So kind of interesting. Those are Cardassian and relativity are like the 2 top decks. So this card actually doesn't do good against the second best deck in the game right now. Kind of interesting that way. And the other thing too is that if their opponent has like multiple ships at the mission, so let's say an instance where your opponent gets like 2 or 3 ships at the mission and you send this over to battle them, they could be discarding 15 cards. So the question is mill in this way for Cardassians good? Yeah, it's not bad. There's what are some of the cards that go with it? There's like Katra is probably the most obvious one that goes with it. This one is when they discard, when your opponent discards a personal from the top of your deck, you score points. So, if you discard 5 cards on average from your opponent when you just start a battle, odds are you're going to hit a personnel, you're going to get 5 points from Katra. There's other kind of cards that play off this a little bit, I think, like Staunch Determination. It's never really seen it play, but it's actually interesting in this case. So when your opponent's personnel is killed in an engagement involving your Cardassian ship, you can destroy this event to make that opponent discard cards to top of deck equal that personnel's cost. So I don't know, normally this isn't like a good card, but let's say you do, you have this in play, and you do what is like battle orders, battle drills. So this you get an engagement involving your goal. If you win, your weapons +2, and you can kill someone. So you play this with the Kraxon. Your Kraxon is a weapons 10. If you win, you kill person. They have to discard the cost of the ship, so maybe discard 5. And then if you kill a person with battle drills with that staunch determination in play, let's say you kill a 3-cost person now, though, they have to discard 3 more cards. Is that worth 1 counter? I don't know, but it's something, right? So being able to, it creates a entire new deck out of cards that existed, but never really seen play. It's Cardassian. It's kind of lame that it's Cardassian because Cardassians already have a really good deck. This would be cool if it was given to like another affiliation. Not sure who that would be right now. Romulan, I guess. It's kind of like a Romulan card, but yeah, the mill. I like the idea that's mill. I don't think giving it to Cardassian makes sense right now, just because they have everything. All right, well, whatever. All right, last card is the big boy ship. This is the Regency 1. This is the Alliance flagship from Terrak Nor. It is a 7 cost, 9, 11, 10, so it is a big ship. It will win you many engagements. And when you play the ship, you can discard a Terrak Nor card to download a maneuver for each mirror mission you command. So there's 2 mirror missions in the game. One is the Terrak Nor headquarters, so so you'd have to be playing Terrak Nor really to use this card to any real effect, I think. So there's the headquarters mission will get you 1 free download, and then the other mission that just came out, the Gorlan sector, is the other mirror mission. So the only way to really solve this is the only way to attempt this is with KCA is with a Bajoran. So getting that non-unique Bajoran is actually huge for Terrak Nor because it gives them another way to at least attempt this mission if they have to do it. Maybe they just want to play it just for the download, but if they're going to attempt it and solve it, that's one way to do it. And in addition to the other Bajorans that are out there. Anyway, so that's all the cards. We're probably went a little long time on this one, but that's all of them. That's my opinion on them. I love this set. I think it creates a lot of situations where players are going to be playing around what other battle cards people have. We've got more interactions. There's reasons to actually prepare for battle. There's going to be reasons for winning a battle, even if your deck isn't designed to battle. So I really like it. I think it's going to create a lot of more interactions in the game. Is that going to speed? One of my big things is how fast the game is going. I think I like that a lot of the cards in the set are designed to make battle not as just falling behind. Like Strategic Tug of War is a great card for that. So you battle. Maybe you do like a whatever. Maybe you just do something very safe, like destroy an event with battle. Well, now you get a free personnel out of it for doing that. Yeah, I really like that option. The other thing is like this suite of Imperial occupation, invasion plans, and life-changing encounter, because there's another card out there that was like this before, where it was a battle ability card that just sat on the table all game. So this is going to let you do battle often with a fewer number of battle cards, so you can actually throw in more battle benefit cards, right? So you can, instead of needing 10 cards to initiate battle, you might have like 3 or 4. You can spend more of those cards on things like Call to Arms, right? So If you can battle every turn, Call to Arms is potentially 10 points a turn. Now this makes Call to Arms is an okay card already, but now it makes it much stronger. There's the stuff like adapted to service us, like I mentioned before, and then plenty of the other more common battle stuff people use. The and I think what's kind of interesting is there's plenty of it's not just going to be a battle heavy meta there because there's counters available like the Guinan's rifle to counter maybe like a shock troops or something like that. Uh, Obviously the I think Defendant and Hope is going to kind of is going to change the way battle works out more than any card because it puts combat into like a very kind of small window of the game, which I think it's the right time of the game. I'm a I think like the do not command a completed mission is a little stiff, but whatever. We'll see how it works out. Um, Other than that, there's not a lot of turds in this set, which is also pretty great. Um, so all the cards I can see having uh, some reason to play them, at least initially. So I think the designers did a really good job. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure out what how some of these cards work, like Trueless and Statecraft, but um, hopefully that gets resolved sometime in maybe in the next errata. Anyway, set's good. Check it out. Let me know what you think. If you if you agree with me, let me know. If you think I'm way off, I always like to know that too. Um, Hopefully, I gave you guys some ideas for decks out there. I've been thinking a lot about them. I've been playing I've been playing the online tournament this month. That kind of relies on a couple of the cards from this set to really work. And I've got only one game in so far, but it was pretty fun. Uh, Both I and my opponent had commented on how we were both playing around the other person's battle, which is what you want. I think the the part of not having the part of that made battle really boring is that battle was just kind of a bland thing that you knew was going to happen. You just ran into it and dealt with it. Now we were both kind of playing around each other's stuff, which was really fun. So try it out, enjoy, and I'll see you guys next time.